Big clashes, brutal battles. The Millennium Stadium would have been an appropriate venue for some of the coalition government's infighting. But today's St David's Day announcement was a more harmonious affair. Well, in public at least.
Is it quite as far as I would like? No. Is it the vast bulk of what the Silk Commission recommended? It is. And that is a major achievement. Look, let's remember, I am, as Deputy Prime Minister, in coalition with a party, the Conservative Party, that traditionally was opposed to any form of devolution to Wales. So the fact that we together have actually now delivered far greater devolution to Wales than Labour ever did in 13 years of government, I think is a remarkable change.
But there is Lib Dem frustration that they couldn't go further on the deal.
It's fair to say, and that's seen from public pronouncements, I'm not betraying any confidences, that, you know, the Conservative Party had set their face against the recommendations of the Silk Commission, for instance, when it came to youth justice and policing, and I think that's a missed opportunity.
It's a message they'll take into the election. For the best part of a decade, Cardiff's been one of the party's happier hunting grounds, from Westminster to the council. But come May, the party knows it's in for the fight of its life.
Things feel very positive, and out in Montgomeryshire we're out pounding the streets, talking to people, and I think Montgomeryshire is going to come home to the Liberal Democrats.
We've got a good record of delivery in government. It's not been easy, no one's saying that, but you know, we've got good things to come.
It seems the Lib Dem troops need little rallying from their leader tonight, but will they be in as buoyant a mood come May? Now, tonight's rally comes ahead of the start of the Welsh Liberal Democrat conference proper tomorrow, and as part of the rally in front of me, they're hearing from their leader, Nick Clegg, who's giving a speech, and in that speech he's talking about the money his party is going to pump into the English NHS, some £8 billion, and the effect that would have on Wales. More money for Wales, he says, some £450 million. He's also talking about today's announcement and how that's another example of the Liberal Democrats delivering real Welsh devolution. That will be a message they'll take across Wales ahead of May's general election. But the main message during that campaign will be that the Liberal Democrats are needed in any future coalition government.
Well, in Cardiff now is our correspondent, James Williams. James, what is the chances of whatever government is elected in May actually legislating these powers, do you think?
Well, this is an agreement that's been done on a cross-party basis by the four parties here in Wales, so there's a good chance that this will happen, but this is a base level of devolution. There could be further powers added to this depending on who's in government. Now, this is a significant announcement because it adds muscle to the Welsh Assembly, which from the start of devolution really was considered the wimpy kid in the devolution schoolyard, but no more. And of course this process started in the wake of the Scottish referendum, when the Welsh Secretary of State Stephen Crabb called all the Welsh parties together and said, OK, let's come together and see which powers we can devolve to Wales in tandem with what's happening in Scotland.
James Williams can tell us more. James.
Thank you very much, Jamie. When the Welsh NHS has staffing gaps in its nursing rotas, it hires locum or agency staff to plug those gaps, much in the same way as supply teachers are used in schools. They're supposed to be a short-term fix, but figures obtained by the Welsh Liberal Democrats under the Freedom of Information Act show that spending on agency nurses increased by 80% last year, from £12.8 million to £23 million. And in total, more than £60 million has been spent on agency nursing staff over the last 4 years. If you cast your mind back to May's European elections, Lucy, then you remember that UKIP created a bit of a political storm. They topped the poll across the United Kingdom, and here in Wales they came within a whisker of beating Labour into top spots. Now, everyone thought that that would be UKIP's high point, that their support would begin to recede after that, but since then we've seen a couple of high-profile defections. We saw last night's historic victory in Clacton, and here in Wales, a recent BBC Wales opinion poll suggests that support for the party here in Wales ahead of next year's general election has doubled since March, going from 7% to 14%. So the party has a lot of momentum, both here in Wales and across the United Kingdom. As we know, momentum is so crucial in politics.
Yes, and now they're hoping to win a Welsh seat in the general election in May.
Yes, they are. We heard from the party's Welsh MEP this morning that he believes the party can win a Welsh seat at next year's general election, and the party's targeting 3 seats here in Wales in all. the first being in Labour-held Alun and Deeside. Now, they haven't mentioned the name of the two other seats, but we believe there was a strong hint this morning that the second is the Tory-held Vale of Glamorgan seat, and we believe that the third could be in the Labour-dominated Valleys area. So a mixture there of both Labour and Conservative seats, and that's because, according to Nathan Gill, and we can hear him now, saying that people have had enough of being governed by both of the big parties. For decades, the Corona Man delivered pop to doors across the country. The fizzy drinks company was a Welsh success story, part of the cultural brew, and it all began in a small factory in Porth at the foot of the Rhondda Valleys. The doors may have closed on the former Corona factory, but fizzy drinks are still very much a part of Welsh life. But because of their high sugar content, drinking fizzy drinks regularly has been shown to increase the risk of obesity and other health problems. So, an idea of the Plaid Cymru policy production line is the introduction of a pop tax. Research commissioned by the party shows that a 20% tax on the price of fizzy drinks could cut the number of people in Wales who are obese by some 8,000 and the overweight by more than 13,000. It's a policy that could raise up to £45 million a year, but the study warns that the extra tax is likely to hit people on lower incomes hardest. Plaid set out its stall, so we took ours to the people of Porth. Would they pay £1.79 instead of £1.49? It's said that you always remember a good teacher. So what do these pupils at Llanilltyd Fawr Primary School in the Vale of Glamorgan think makes a good one?
A good teacher is a teacher that actually listens to you and helps you learn a lot. A helpful one, a kind one, and one that's quite funny.
Teachers are also measured against rigorous national standards. But a review of the system that teaches the teachers has found that it's at a critical turning point, and the case for change is undeniable. It concludes that the system in Wales isn't appropriate for developing the teachers it needs. It's falling well short of what the international evidence suggests is best practice, and that there's a vacuum in leadership in education, a lack of communication, and confused messages.
Well, 8 years ago, the focus was very much on the fact that we produced far too many teachers in Wales, and the system had to be cut back in a way that would still keep it viable. And that has been achieved. But at the same time, since then, the quality of what goes on has actually not improved.
Just up the road at the secondary school in Llantwit Major, what do some of Wales's newly qualified teachers make of the system?
Most people, I would say, do enjoy it and do have a successful year of training. But with anything, if education is changing, then teacher training needs to change as well.
Now, this review of the Welsh education system comes around a fortnight after proposals were made to overhaul the national curriculum. So, big changes are afoot in the Welsh education system in a bid to improve Wales's flagging rankings in both the UK and international league tables. It's being described by the Welsh Government as the biggest shake-up in education here since the 1940s, so that teachers, primary and secondary pupils have a system fit for the 21st century. Nick Clegg speaking there. Now, the former leader of the Welsh Liberal Democrats, Lord German, said yesterday that he'd been banned from attending the Welsh Conservative meeting across the capital, so he'd have to make do with just the one conference. No such misfortune for our political editor Nick Savini, who's been at both, and today he's at the Liberal Democrat conference at Cardiff Metropolitan University. Hi, Nick.